Happy Sunday. It looks like I'm now live, and I felt inspired to come on here to talk about an interesting topic of the concept of fame and what that means to me, and talking about if I want to be famous or if I think I'll ever be famous, whatever that means. And yeah, I wanted to share that it is very interesting to me that there's been at least 5 people that I have known personally that have become pretty freaking famous. And it's been really a trip to observe these people go from just normal ass people to pretty much millions of people knowing who they are. So the first person that this happened to me with was Mac Miller. So I literally grew up with Malcolm, aka Mac Miller, here in Pittsburgh. And he went to the middle school right down the street from me, so I would see him all the time after school. And when he transferred from his private school to Alderdice, where I went to school, I was like the only person that he knew when he transferred there. So in gym class, he was always hanging out with me. And I mean, we were talking, and this is when he first started rapping. And then pretty quickly, he started gaining this huge following. And then sure enough, now, I mean, rest in peace to him. Obviously, it's really sad that he passed, but it was really surreal to watch Malcolm go from, first his name was Easy Mac, and then he transitioned to Mac Miller, and then he became world famous right before my eyes. And, I knew him growing up, and it was just crazy. And also at my high school was Wiz Khalifa. So when I was a freshman, he was a senior. And he was just a regular dude, and he just started rapping his junior year. I bought his first mixtape off him at the lunch table, and I actually was a freshman, and I was into rap, and so I actually wrote a rap. I gotta find it somewhere at my parents' house, but I wrote a rap that I was gonna give to him, like, yo, we should do a song together. Wiz Khalifa, I swear to God. So he was a senior when I was a freshman, and he was at a lot of the parties that I was at. We would go to Frick Park and have, big keg parties in the woods, and Wiz Khalifa was there multiple times, like, I swear to God. And now he's one of the most famous rappers in the world. So it's been surreal to watch, Malcolm and Wiz become world famous. And, yeah, what's up, Austin? What's up, Ryan? Thanks for tuning in. And interestingly, I feel like I was one of the only people, because I was a freshman when Wiz was a senior, but then when I was a senior, that's when Malcolm came. So my year of high school was the only people that could have possibly been around both of them. So just an interesting kind of coincidence. Funny story. This is a crazy story. So Wiz Khalifa had a show in Greenfield, where I grew up, literally a few blocks from my house. This is when he was first started rapping, and Malcolm, Mac Miller, was the opening act for the show. And I was surprised that Wiz wanted to even rap with Malcolm, because Malcolm was this young white kid, Mac Miller at the time. And but Malcolm was posting on Facebook yo, I'm doing a show with Wiz, it's at Greenfield. It was at this weird banquet hall where bar mitzvahs would happen. So Malcolm posts on Facebook, hey, if you want to get your tickets, send me $10 and I'll send it to you. And he posts a picture of the ticket. So me and my friends were funny and seniors in high school, so we're like, all right, we're gonna just print off the tickets and then make copies of it. So me and my friends got fake tickets to a Mac Miller Wiz Khalifa concert. There was literally 15 people at this show, I swear to God. It was at this freaking banquet hall in Greenfield. I could show y'all where it's at to this day. And so Malcolm does his Mac Miller does his performance, and me and my friends are just chilling in the background. There was literally 20 people there. And then Wiz was supposed to play at 10:30, but he was literally 2 hours late. He didn't show up till 12:30. He comes in clearly high out of his mind, carrying a puppy. And we're like, oh my God. But he ended up performing for 30 minutes. and that was that. So this was my senior year of high school, 2009. I went to a Wiz Khalifa Mac Miller concert at a freaking bar mitzvah hall. So anyways, that was trippy to see them get famous before my eyes. And then when I went to college, I started reading this book from this author named Charles Eisenstein. And I just thought it was the most revolutionary book in the universe. And he basically like summarizes human history up until this point and kind of explains, the arc and the rise and fall of civilization, all this stuff. And I just loved this book. I was like, I gotta meet this guy. And so I went to he lived in Harrisburg at the time. I drove up to Harrisburg and went to a few of his workshops. And there was literally like 3 or 4 people at his workshops. But I was like, dude, this is like one of the best books ever written. Like, how are you not famous? How have people not caught on to your stuff? So I filmed a lot of his talks, his early workshops and stuff, and I posted them on my YouTube channel. This was in 2010. And I was like, this guy needs to fucking get his work out there. And sure enough, over the next 5 years, he became world famous. And he's been on Oprah now. He's been on all these freaking top radio shows and stuff. And I'm so thankful that, people have caught on to his work. But like literally, I was one of his first fans. I was one of his first followers. And it's just crazy to me to watch him, now be known by thousands or millions of people. So that was another trippy thing of someone getting famous before my eyes. Then in 2012, I started doing spoken word poetry, and I went to different conferences and performed and stuff. And I met this amazing young woman named Lyla June, who is a Dene, also known as Navajo, activist and poet and musician. And we became friends because we were both doing like conscious poetry. And so the next year, like, she invited me to come down to Taos where she lived and do a video with her and stay at her house, and we became friends. And we're not like super tight, but like I stayed at her house and we had a great time, and she's a very down to earth person. And I just thought she was amazing. And sure enough, over the next 5 years, she's become pretty freaking famous. Like, she's one of the top kind of like native speakers that speaks at a lot of these conferences and stuff. And I'm just so happy for her that she's getting her message out there, and she's such a wise, humble person, But again, it's been pretty surreal to see her now have like tens and thousands of followers. She even ran for Congress last year. So that's been surreal. And then one other person, my homie from growing up, Becca, just an amazing human being. She's a professional rock climber instructor. She made it onto The Amazing Race, which is this show on, I think, CBS. And her team, called Team Fun, was like the coolest team on the show. Like, everyone who watched the show was like, yeah, they're clearly the coolest. Team Fun. And they've been on The Amazing Race twice. So literally one of my close friends in high school growing up is now being watched by like millions of people on The Amazing Race, run around the world and like complete these challenges and stuff. And so it's just like really surreal to see one of my best friends growing up on fucking CBS every night, whatever. So there's literally been like 5 people that I've not necessarily been super tight with, but like they know my name and whatnot. I don't think Wiz knows my name, but everyone else knows who I am, and we're basically friends. And they're like on the world stage. And so I'm like, like, I wonder if this will ever happen to me. Like, I don't even know. A part of me like thinks it would be so cool to like have this big platform and have all these people that listen to what I say. But another part of me is like, maybe that's not my purpose. Maybe that's not what God or Great Spirit wants for me. And I think this is something that a lot of us need to really think about. Like, there's all these people that are, wanting to be famous, thinking that it's going to be the greatest thing ever, when in reality, a lot of times people that get famous, they get depressed or they get addicted to drugs, or it like really takes over their life in a big way. And another aspect of that is like, it's like how do we have the greatest impact on the world? And it's kind of like, to use a metaphor, you could like give 100 people like a little tiny free sample of cucumber or cheese or whatever your appetizer is, or you could like consistently serve really nourishing meals to maybe 5 people. And it's like, which one actually creates a more impact on the world? Like having a tiny little impact on a lot of people, or having like a really deep impact on a few people? And I consider this a lot. Like, there's this one part of me that wants to keep branching out all the time, Oh my God, new connections, new podcasts I'm interviewed on, and doing this, and this, reaching more people. That's the best thing from one perspective. And then I'm like, maybe I should just like chill the fuck out and actually see how I can serve a smaller number of people that I'm already connected to. And I feel like a lot of people that get famous or have these big following, they sometimes neglect their closer connections for this perceived service to thousands of people, or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure there's plenty of case studies of this, of like famous people who've not taken care of their kids, or neglected, or maybe they think that they're on some big holy mission. Like, I feel like this is what happened to Nako Medicine for the People. He thinks he's on some holy mission, which to some degree I believe he is, but in that thing he ended up abusing many people in who knows how severe of ways. But it's like, when you get too wrapped up in your big thing, sometimes you might neglect these like pieces of integrity, or tending to these other basic parts of life. So these are things that I consider quite often, and I really do want to use my life as a way to positively impact the world. So I'm like, hey, if God actually wants me to be famous, if that's in alignment, to whatever degree famous even means, then like I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to be of service and maybe sacrifice some of my, I don't know, leisure time or whatever the case may be. But, there's this other part of me that's like, I don't want to have to deal with like people recognizing me when I go places or something. Like, that seems annoying, but if that's how I'm supposed to help the world, then maybe that's what I'll do. But these are just interesting things to ponder. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like I was on this like trajectory of kind of like getting a little bit famous when I was on the West Coast back in 2012, doing all these festivals and stuff. People were like recognizing me from YouTube and stuff. And it was pretty surreal, people that would meet me like, oh my God, I've seen your videos, it's so inspiring, this, and this. I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea who you are. Like, this is kind of weird how you know everything about me and I know nothing about you. That is a common surreal thing that happens with people that, have a big following or whatever. And I can totally see it the other way. Like, there's people that I watch on YouTube that I feel like they're my best friend and they have no idea who I am. So it's just a weird aspect of the internet. But what I was trying to say was that I felt like I was like getting a little bit famous maybe, or like people were recognizing me, and all this stuff was kind of on this trajectory. And then in 2013, I got hired by this company, and I was making videos, and they invited me to Burning Man, and I gave like this big presentation at Burning Man, which is on YouTube. It's one of my best presentations, and it was filmed by like a super professional film crew. And as I was giving that presentation, I was like, yeah, like this is what I'm meant to do. Like I'm meant to fucking lead workshops with like 100 people. Everyone was loving it, and a lot of people came up to me and said it was like really awesome. And a few of those people became clients that I was coaching afterwards, and like all these things were like lining up. And it felt like this, peak of the mountain moment. This is in 2013. And literally the next day, my appendix burst at Burning Man. And that just led me on like this crazy spiral of healing. When I was in the hospital after the appendix burst, that's when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which became yet another thing that like kind of slowed me down in a way and made me kind of like take a step back and not be on this like big trajectory of performing all the time. So that was an interesting thing of like God or spirit being like, maybe you're not quite ready yet and you've got to like take it slow for a while. And that was freaking what, eight years ago now. And it's so funny to me, like the whole social media game and realm. It's like sometimes I'll post something and it'll seem like hundreds of people are like, oh my God, Kevin, I care about everything you have to say. You're so inspiring. Thank you so much. And then other times I'm like, I post a YouTube video and it gets like 2 views. So it's just like this weird thing where I'm like, like, are people really wanting to hear what I have to say? Like, or not? Like, it feels like this paradox. But my truth is that I feel like what I have to say is important, and so I'm going to keep sharing it, even if there's only one person watching right now. But I'm like, all right, well, I appreciate when people are making videos, and maybe I'm the only one watching it, but I'm like, I fucking am really grateful that this person made that video. So, I'm just going to keep doing my thing and not really worry about how many followers I have, because I have fun doing this. I have fun making music and poetry. And to be honest, like there's this part of me that thinks like, okay, maybe I'm just supposed to like create all this stuff, and then when I die, people will finally realize how awesome it is. Like my books and stuff, like there's this part of me that doesn't even feel like promoting my books. I just want to keep like writing books, and then I'm like, okay, on my deathbed I'll be like, look guys, like I fucking wrote like 10 books over there. You guys were off playing hopscotch or something, not reading them, but now that I'm gone, like maybe you guys can check them out. But yeah, it's just interesting thoughts. And like, yeah, so I guess that's all I'm going to share for now, but I've been feeling the call to make more videos and just to like create content because it's fun and I have a lot of thoughts that I want to express. So there you go, friends and family of the universe. I hope y'all are doing well out there. Make sure that you're hydrating yourself. I highly recommend the Life Factory bottles. Good glass bottles. I've got a zillion recommendations on Life, as you may have noticed. So if you ever need like good recommendations for interesting stuff or music or videos, I've got like a freaking library on YouTube of playlists of like every topic. So it's like if you want to learn about indigenous wisdom, I've got a whole playlist on that. If you want to learn about permaculture, I've got a whole playlist on that. Like I've been building a freaking library, and yeah, it's there. If y'all need it, hit me up. Anyways, y'all, I'm getting my sweat on here. Sweating is a good practice for the body. And scoobily-doo. I'll see y'all in the future. Please leave a comment if you found this interesting. If you're just tuning in, at the beginning I shared like 5 people that I knew personally that became pretty freaking famous, and yeah, it's been a trip to watch that happen. So that's all for now, folks. Happy Sunday.